Well, thank you for participating in the ETS. Wanted to ask you about some of the challenges in introducing new innovations and technologies across oceans and borders.
I think one of the biggest problem is getting people to believe that it will actually work. The second problem is people tend not to believe that anybody from a university could actually address a real life problem. And I think that's a real perception issue. Having said that, I think the real problems are to do with codes. Because sometimes the process by which you have to go through to get something like the PAPA or this detection device for traps approved is going to be quite long-winded, and I think that therefore what you have to have before you start that process is an understanding between the people around the table that, you know, we decide before we actually go to the code that this is something that all of us think is a good idea, and then that oils the wheels, and then it becomes something that is mutually beneficial to everybody. I think going in cold with an application is no use. You have to, so that's why on the trap detection we were so pleased to work with IAPMO, who supported it right the way through, right from 2004 when we came to the SARS convention here, and you know, it certainly that idea came out of that, so very positive.
And I mean, so an event like this is actually a very good opportunity to kind of build those bridges, would it not be?
Yes, of course it is, and you know, for me, it's really a pleasure to come back and work in the States again, because you know, I've spent 25 years moving backwards and forwards and working with lots of colleagues in the States, and it's always been a tremendous pleasure. So I think from that point of view, it's always good to meet old friends. But yeah, networking is really central. And if you can do that, perhaps you can break down some of the problems I said were 1 and 2, which was, you know, can academics contribute in a real world, and people's belief that perhaps they can't. So if you actually face somebody face to face and, you know, he's got some ideas, perhaps you start to believe it could be possible. Like my comment about Russ saying in 2005, well, if he says he can do it, he can do it. Yeah.
Excellent. And just in general about, you know, the putting suspicions to rest, as an academic, yes. I mean, how do you come about doing that? Is it a long process, or you know?
I think it's basically a mindset that you actually realize that you can bring something to the party that other people, because they've come to that point down a different route, may not actually have been able to do. Now, I know with my own research group at Heriot, we have never actually employed anybody who had only a training in plumbing and drainage. We have an electrical engineer, a guy who's a lady who's an energy person, somebody else who in actual fact was a computer guy, who in actual fact was a quantity surveyor, or you know, before that. So in actual fact, I think what is really important is to bring in the ideas from left field, because I think that's where you get the innovative ideas. I mean, you know, that if you've been buried too long with your blinkers on, you can't do that. And I think the other thing is that, you know, we look for people who've had a good, broad, mathematically based engineering background, because the maths is a vocabulary and a tool, and it allows you to look over those hills and see what you might be able to do. So I guess our you know, our job in research is, you know, like Wellington said in 1809, to look over the hill and see what's happening. I think that's our job in research. So anyway.
Oh, well, thank you very much.